Yeah. Ken asked another question. He said, you appeal to the authority of the most critical Bible scholars in establishing Habermas and Lycona's minimal facts. Yet you also take several positions not held by most mainstream biblical scholars. For example, the dating of the New Testament, that has concluded that Mark was written in the late 60s, Matthew in the 80s, Luke in the 90s, John early in the 2nd century. Why appeal to the majority opinion of mainstream scholars to support the resurrection while rejecting mainstream scholarly opinion on these other matters?
Okay, so maybe there's a misunderstanding about how I'm using Habermas and Lycona. So Gary Habermas and Mike Lycona are friends, but I would say we probably disagree on far more than we actually agree on. And I'll be honest, I love Gary's work, and looking at the minimal facts. That's really a Gary Habermas work. And I'm using a book. I talk about it in a book that he wrote with Mike Lycona called The Resurrection of Jesus. But I will tell you that I don't think that that's necessarily a persuasive argument for the resurrection, to appeal to the minimal facts that scholars reference, even skeptical scholars reference when talking about the resurrection. I just wanted to give that list because I was setting up what I would have said as a skeptic. So when I first looked at this, I knew that we had to take a list of evidences in the room and then a list of possible explanations and figure out which of these possible explanations makes the most sense, is the most reasonable in light of the evidences. Now, Gary and Mike might say there are 15 or so, or 13, I forget how many they list, that are the minimal facts that they would use as evidence. As a skeptic, I rejected all of those except for 4. There were only 4 that I would have said, looking at that list. So, yeah, Gary can just kind of anecdotally tell us what scholarship thinks about these different data points. I didn't care what scholarship thought about the data points, and I still don't care what scholarship thinks about the data points. What I care is, what are the data points? And I'm going to make my own inference. Sorry. I mean, I'm just arrogant enough to think that all of us as jurors, and I think most of the skeptics who you're dealing with right now on this podcast, on this question, they aren't probably scholars either, yet they think they can make a reasonable inference from facts. I do too. I think we do this all the time in juries. We tell people who are just post office deliverers, they're just like you and me. We're just people who are regular folks, engineers and teachers, and just people who have no expertise in this area. That we tell them we're going to give you the power, not the experts we call. We're going to give you the power to render a verdict. The experts don't get a vote. You're the only ones who get a vote. And we're going to do that. Yeah, I can listen to experts testify, but you're free to also say those experts are crazy. I think it's this. So I think the same is true for us. I have no problem with experts who might gather data, but I get to decide if I want to use that data, if I think that data is reasonable. So they've gathered 13, 14, 15. I forget what they actually gathered in their book on minimal facts, but I reject all of those but 4. Yeah. The 4 are the 4 that I would have said as an atheist. I'll give you these. I'll give you these claims about Jesus, that he lived. I'm not a Jesus mythic. I think there's more than enough good evidence to suggest that this dude, Jesus of Nazareth, lived. And even that he died on a cross. But that doesn't mean he rose from the grave. But I will give you that one data point. So I like I said earlier, I want to listen to what Bart has to say about his assessment of these facts. But in the end, I'm going to have to go back to the facts and draw my own inference.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If it was helpful and useful to you, I'd really appreciate it if you would follow us, subscribe to our channel at the bottom link here in the video, and tell your friends. And please follow us on social media.